Hi, so today I'm going to talk about being ungrounded and that we can get very caught up in being ungrounded while we're on the path, especially when we are really going deep into our spirituality. Now, for me, I used to get very ungrounded, and there was points in my awakening periods of time where my higher chakras were actually opening. And so when those chakras were opening, I was feeling, you know, very expansive, very opening up into my third eye, into the crown, you know, opening up into my intuition. I would receive downloads, I'd be all dreamy and, be very spacey. And when we do this, obviously, this can take us away from physical reality a little bit, take us away from the normal, mundane, day to day life. And I think it's very helpful for a lot of people to step out of that, especially if they're wanting to come into awakening, come into connecting to intuition. There's a period of time where we do need to open up into the higher centers. A lot of people are, in the lower three chakras, but they're not into the heart, the throat, the third eye, the crown. A lot of those areas are actually quite closed for most people on the planet. So, and this can differentiate. Some people can already have higher chakras open and not have your bottom chakras open. And so when we have an awakening, mine was very up, down. So my upper chakras opened up first before my lower chakras started to go down eventually later on in my path. And so when these upper chakras are awakening up, we can experience all types of different symptoms. We can experience forehead pressure, we can experience headaches, dizziness, vertigo. You can even have real brain fog can come at that time. So you can really be confused, clouded, not knowing what direction to take. You can be very unable to take action on things, unable to focus, unable to do normal day-to-day chores. So I remember for me, when a lot of these areas were opening for me and I didn't know what I was experiencing at the time, I was just practicing meditation, and I started to do certain breathing techniques, and I started to do some type of kundalini breathing techniques where I would draw energy up into the crown, I'd hold the breath. So there'd be lots of these interesting techniques that I was learning, and I noticed that they were really expansive, and they were also quite activating for some of my chakras that were very in a dormant stage for most of my life. They never really been opened. So I went through a big period of my life where I was quite ungrounded, and I still these days come in and out. I've started to see more of the importance of being grounded and coming back into the physical body. And when we do have a meditation practice, it's often that we can feel a bit spacey after it. This is normal. And this differentiates and depends on the environment you're in too. If you're in a busy city environment and you're meditating in that type of environment, there may be a tendency to feel ungrounded. There's a lot of traffic, there may be a lot of people, a lot of EMF. And maybe if you're out in the mountains or in nature or on the beach practicing meditation, you might feel more grounded because you are literally connected to the earth. And so I'll go a little bit later on into some of the techniques that I have used and that have helped me, and different methods can help you to ground. But I also invite you to just be comfortable with yourself being ungrounded and accepting that, because it's often a period of time that is necessary for us to expand and really go into this expansive nature, an expansive consciousness. And when we're doing this, we are going through transition. It's different. It's like we're not driving a car anymore. We're driving a bus. So we're getting used to driving that bus. The bus is bigger, it's expansive, so it's very whoa, we're more up here now. So it takes time for us to get used to being up here, get used to being connected more to the divine, being more connected to God, to our guides, to our intuition, being more connected to receiving insights and downloads. So it's like driving, a big vehicle. We're going to get used to that. So there's a period of when you're going to experience all types of things. I experienced vertigo for a long period of time. I couldn't even drive my car properly for a long period of time. I was very ungrounded, especially when I went and done like major transformational workshops or circles. There would be often the tendency when I was leaving that I would feel very, very spacey, and I was, I had to be careful driving home. Like I would stick to the left lane, and I would have to really just be careful because I was like, whoa, I felt really like not in my body and unable to control this vehicle. So, that's going to be normal for you on the path. If you are experiencing these types of symptoms and you're a little bit spacey, then it's going to be helpful eventually to come back and to ground. And this is where it's important, because a lot of people, including myself, we see certain things that help us ground, and they're not healthy for us. And that may be like eating junk food. So I used to eat junk food to help me ground. I'd be like, oh, I need something like pizza, I need something heavy. And this is true, you kind of do need something heavier of a food to ground you, and it can be helpful to ground you. Like if you go and eat a chocolate bar or eat some red meat, or if you eat some pizza, wherever type of sugar or something like that, it actually might ground you, but it's not a healthy way to ground. There's lots of other ways that people ground that are unhealthy as well, like watching television. They might watch like some type of action movie or something to really just bring them back into the physical. But there are a lot of healthy ways that you can actually ground. And you can look into certain crystals. So certain crystals are more grounding. You have like hematite, which I remember when it came to me, I was very ungrounded for a long period of time. And then it was like someone was used as a spokesperson. I was at a shopping center one day, walking through, and then I went into a shop. It was like a space shop. And I was telling my friend, like, I keep getting messages from the universe, from my guides, but they're coming through in like people that I meet randomly. They're like telling me information that I need to hear, like they're guiding me through. It's like they're using the person as a channel. And so I walked into this shop, and it was, funny enough, it was actually a space shop. So very spacey, which I was a lot of the time, and very ungrounded. And I actually walked into a space shop, and there was this guy there who just out of nowhere just started saying hematite. And I was thinking, okay, like it was like standing right, there was no one next to him to talk to him. He just started saying, it looked a bit funny. He just started saying hematite. And I thought, this is interesting because that's a crystal. And he said, yeah. And then I looked at him, I go, like, are you talking to me? Like, why are you saying hematite randomly? He's like, I went to the market the other day and I saw some hematite. And I'm like, why are you saying that? It's so random. But this guy seemed a little bit funny. And, I took that as a message, and I went and bought some hematite. So sometimes we do get guided through our guides and our spirit, spirit guides and, certain angels that are looking out for us. And I got told specifically at that time to buy a hematite. And I remember when I didn't know much about hematite, and I pretty much Googled it and went and bought the crystal straight away. And it was like this heavy rock, and it was very, very good for grounding. Very good for if you're very spacey, it helps bring you back down, very heavy. And so from that day on, started wearing hematite pretty much every day for quite some time, and it was very supportive. So some of these crystals can be very helpful. You can get smoky quartz, you can get certain red stones, black stones. There is a stone called agate, which is very grounding as well. So there's lots of these stones that can help ground you. Another thing you can do is look at your foods. So you can eat root vegetables. So beetroot, potatoes, if you're into eating red meat, you can eat red meat. Definitely is going to help you ground. But I'm sure if you are already eating red meat, you probably don't have this issue. Because not everyone, but most people, when they do get to come onto the spiritual path, they start to go through an awakening, they do go through a detox phase. And so a lot of people, like including myself, will start to not eat red meat anymore, may not eat chicken anymore, may not even eat any animals anymore. And some people even go fully vegan for quite some period of time. And that's great to detox your body. And then obviously eventually you still have to find that calling later on, listen to your body, see what you need to eat. Your body may need a bit of red meat, it may need a bit of fish, it may need a bit of chicken, it may need a bit of yogurt or some eggs. So just listening to your body. But initially during the detox period, most people will go vegan, vegetarian. So you will feel lighter. These foods are lighter, compared to red meat, compared to eating refined carbs or sugar. You start eating fruits and vegetables, they are finer in vibration, but they're also light. They're light. And so that will make you feel lighter. And that, obviously helps with the spaciness. And so if you're wanting to ground, if you're very ungrounded, then it can be helpful to eat some, carrots, beetroots, potatoes, root vegetables, ginger. Maybe if you're wanting to eat some red meat every now and again, maybe that red meat can help ground you once in a while. So these are things you can look at your diet. Now, try not to go to the junker foods like, the pizza and things like that, although it can be very helpful and help unground you. Like a lot of the times after big events that I've done, either ones that I've facilitated or ones that I've experienced myself, I've felt very ungrounded and very spaced in, and it's almost like not dangerous, but it's nice. And it's like, instead of allowing myself to stay in that space, the tendency is like I need to come back. I need to come back to my body, or I need to come back to earth. And so, I used to at times eat certain junk food, and that would help bring me back down, but it wasn't healthy. So you can look at healthy alternatives. Another alternative is going into nature. So this is very, very helpful. Going to nature, being surrounded by nature, even better, taking your shoes off, connecting, putting your feet on the earth, connecting to Mother Gaia. This is very, very grounding, very, very supportive, and will bring you more into your body. Now, along with this is exercise. Obviously, when you're hiking, you're walking, so any type of focus into the legs, any type of focus down into the earth. You could go to the gym and do heavy squats. That's helped me in the past. Training my legs. There's certain acupuncture points that you can tap on the bottom of your feet. The gushing spring point in Qigong. So you can tap the bottom of your feet. That'll help ground you. You can tap the side of your knees. That'll help ground you. You can try and bring the energy and sway it down your legs. Really bringing that down. Very helpful. So a lot of that, these exercises you can do, you can go and, do something that's very, very like in the body activity. It could be Muay Thai. It could be boxing. It could be, some weightlifting. It could, even be yoga. Yoga's fantastic for getting into the body, really getting into the legs, holding those positions for long periods of time. So, these things can be very helpful. Along with, if you do have a meditation practice and you're quite regular and you're noticing yourself being spacey, and again, this may not be for a lot of people. Usually people who have this problem are people who meditate quite a lot. The ones who are really putting in hours of work into spirituality, doing a lot of shamanic work, a lot of healing, a lot of meditation, a lot of breath work, qigong, all these types of real life force, higher vibrational practices, which are fantastic. But there's a small minority of people who will experience being spacey and very ungrounded. When you're ungrounded, maybe you're not able to do everything at your peak function at all times. So it can be good, And I'm only giving this advice for the very small, minute amount of people. Majority of people on the planet need to meditate, need to be doing spiritual practices, need to be really looking at their vibration and wanting to increase their frequency. But for those, for those on the planet who are ungrounded and they're very spacey and they need to come back into the body, it can be helpful to just have a break from the meditation. Or if you are meditating, make sure you're meditating on the earth. Or when you're doing the meditation practice, trying not to increase the energy and bringing the energy too up high either. Trying to bring your attention and your awareness down into the belly, into your hara, so below your belly button is your lower dantian in Qigong. So we want to bring our focus down to the legs, down to the lower belly, and focusing downwards. And when we do this, this can help you to ground. So there's meditations that you can do that are more grounding, where you can imagine your feet connecting to the earth, and you can imagine roots coming out. You can imagine an umbilical cord connecting to the earth from the bottom of your spine. And all these things can be more of a grounding style of practice, instead of the other practices where we may be like holding the breath and focusing on the third eye and doing a lot of, real uplifting of the energy and bringing it up and opening up the crown. This is great, but you want to eventually be connected to your roots as well as connected to up there. So we don't want to ignore being up there. Up there is great, but we also want to be connected deep down to our roots, to our legs, to our feet, grounded in the earth. And so you'll know, it'll come through different times in your life where you need to change, you'll need to go through a different process. And that's what's happened to me. Certain things worked for me, and then I would experience different things and I would feel like, oh, I need to change. But my ego would get attached to a situation. No, this is the routine. This is the meditation practice. We want to meditate for 1 hour and then do Qigong and then do yoga and then do all this breathing and all this stuff. But sometimes we're being called to just not do that, and maybe just go for a walk, maybe go to the gym and lift some heavy weights, maybe just like go and play in the garden, play around with the mud, do some gardening, really get into the earth. Another great thing is to put your body into water. So if you can go and do a cold plunge, even better if you can go and find a water hole, amazing. So many benefits just from being in that water hole, submerging in that water. That's going to ground you. If you've got a beach near you, it's good weather, jump in the water, have a dip, ground yourself in the sand, feel the feet in the earth. Very grounding. Being in water, cold plunge, bringing you back into your body. You can do sauna cold plunge. That can really bring you into your body and focus that energy down to the legs. So all these things that can be helpful to help you to feel more grounded in your body. Now another thing as well, just like accept it. Like if you are a bit spacey, like allow yourself to be a bit spacey, But if it's starting to be a hindrance on your life, you're not able to do like normal activities. It could be like public transport, it could be driving around like myself. It could be many things. There's sometimes a divine timing when things will kind of pace themselves out and even out. Like my vertigo and things like that ended up just kind of failing away and falling away, and I started to like go out and hike into nature, and my body was starting to be more comfortable with being up high, and I felt more stability in my legs, more comfortable and safe in my ground, in my body. So there is a timing to these things, and I learned a lot through going through all that, and I really have a greater understanding really of what it's like. So I know if you're going through it, if you're experiencing any of these interesting symptoms as well, lots of interesting symptoms that can come along with going through a spiritual awakening. So many that if you go to a doctor, they might even prescribe you with some label. They'll give you some label and say there's something wrong with you and you need to go and take medication because of this. So this is not in all cases that everyone experiences spiritual symptoms, but from my perspective, I've seen that a lot of people are, and they're relating it to some cause or something else that they've done physically that is giving them this symptom. So for me, like, there was no reason for vertigo to come up. Nothing happened. It just snapped in. As soon as I started to meditate, as soon as I started to step away from a lot of my distracting, a lot of the numbing, a lot of the drugs and alcohol and food and all that stuff that was keeping me in a zombie state, when I stepped away from that and started to meditate and really feel and awaken, that's when certain things started to appear, certain symptoms would appear. You know, anxiety is one of them, very common. A lot of people experience anxiety. And, you know, a lot of that, yes, is due to us thinking past, future. Generally, anxiety is in the future. Thinking that we're unsafe, the body's getting signals that we're not safe, something's not right. But if you look in the moment, we are safe. So, you know, a lot of it can be through the mind, but a lot of this anxiety as well is through part of the energy awakening. It's a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy coming in, and the body will experience being anxious. It will experience all types of these different things. So there's many disorders and personality disorders that people label as being wrong. It could be bipolar, it could be a bit of schizophrenia. You know, you might start seeing spirits. You may start, connecting to the other world. You might start hearing voices. You might notice that your energy frequency is going to change in a day or two. So like one day you're a full low vibration, the next day you're high, and people call this bipolar because your personality's changed. And this is due to the fluctuation in states. This is also a part of the awakening. So, you know, a lot of that is, I don't want to go too deep into all of that, but a lot of these labels and things that people perceive as being a bad thing can often be a part of your awakening process. And especially if people, like I've spoken to people who think there's something wrong with them, and I tell them, oh no, that's just, it's a normal thing. That's what people experience when they're awakening. And just that relief on their face and in their body and their energy, like allowing that, oh, this is a part of the process. There's not something wrong with me. And so this has helped me along my journey when I used to YouTube and look up, or I would ask questions to another teacher, someone who's more advanced in the path, someone who's experienced more, or someone who knows what I'm going through. They would share, oh yes, this is why you're going through that. Like I would experience pain in my chest, and I'd think, oh, something wrong. But then I realized that it's my heart chakra opening. You know, and I would experience certain things around my neck. You know, or one day I'd feel really tired and I think, what's wrong with me? I'm exhausted. It's like, well, the body needs to rest. You're going through a transition. You've got a lot of light coming through. So there's all these things that can be helpful for a lot of people on the journey. And wherever you are in your awakening is perfect for you. You just kind of know if you need to ground at each time. There may be a time for you to really go into being vegan, maybe going into like water fasting, juice fasting, really cleaning out your body. You may even need to detox from television, mobile phone. You may even need to detox from people. So there's a period of time where that is completely necessary, where you can go to those extremities. And there's a time when you might need to come back and ground. And that may mean to start introducing some of those foods that you took away. It may mean to start hanging out with those friends that you took a detox with. It may mean watching something on television that you may have detoxed from. You know, coming back to it's okay to be human. It's okay to be a human. It's okay to do human things and experience what we have to offer in life. But we still need to be truthful with ourselves and honest, because there is a healthier way. There is always a healthier way. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you need to ground, do those things that I recommended. Very helpful. Nature, root vegetables, grounding meditation, all these types of things. certain exercises, really getting to your body, yoga, maybe lifting weights, going for a run, going for a hike. Very grounding. You can get some crystals to help support you, hematite, smoky quartz, agate. So there's lots of different ways that you can help to ground. And then just know that it's okay. You're opening up into those higher chakras, and then know there's a period of time to come down into the lower three, to come back to earth, to come back into a human and be deeply connected with the earth, but also strongly connected to the heavens. So drawing from the heaven, but still deeply rooted from the earth. And when you have these two harnessed, both heaven and earth, and you have both of that coming in, it's so strong, and you'll be able to almost basically live this human experience, but allow the divine to come through you. So you're basically being fully human and fully divine in one. So hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.